editing and post-production. Love it or hate it. It's an important part of what you do as a videographer. So let's chat about it. Someone said to me the other day that he said, I love what I do. He said, but unfortunately 90% of my job is editing and I don't like it. And I'm like, really? I'm actually the opposite. For me, I'll be honest, I kind of prefer the editing. Although I wouldn't want to do one without the other because, as you know, when you're filming things that you'll think you'll need in the edit. You may need a particular shot because you're building the edit in your head. But if someone said, right, you can only do one, I'd do editing.
I'd do shooting.
Yeah, I know.
We have this. For you, I feel, what you've told me is that you kind of like, it's your time to be creative with it all, kind of like, what can I do with the footage that I've got to make this even better than the footage itself?
I just get so much satisfaction from it. I feel like you say, I can, although you can be creative with the filming aspect, you're creating the building blocks of the final video, and it's then I get to the part where I build that from the blocks. Getting a bit deep here.
Build it from the blocks.
But then you can get creative with the edit, with the music choice and everything else that comes together in that. And I feel like you can make a good edit from bad footage, but if you've got bad footage or great footage and you can't do a good edit, then I feel like it can fall flat. I feel like you can polish a turd more.
So I think you can probably do a better job out of, if you're a good editor, out of poor footage. So for instance, if it's great footage but the editor's just bish bash bosh,
just boring.
It's going to be inevitably decent because the footage generally is decent, but you'll only have a maximum level of like that. Whereas if the footage isn't the best and you kind of like editing in like a really exciting, like dynamic or whatever way, you can be better than that one. Does that make sense?
That reminds me of a time where we had some footage that was really low quality because it was a high frame rate camera, but the camera was low quality. And we were quite disappointed with it. It was for some product videos, and it was a bit of a passion project with the mate. And we was like, well, how are we going to make this look better? And he's like, well, let's just lean into it, like lean into the fact that it's crap. So I made it look a little bit like VHS, QVC style from the 90s. So we did these products with really sort of like cheesy price labels on them, and it looked really good because that's what you can do with the edit.
For me, I just love the shoot day. Like, I do enjoy editing. I enjoy that when it's done, you watch it back and you go, oh.
You just can't. You just hate the bit getting there.
I just struggle to get there. Like the shooting side of it, I like the tech side of it. It's like getting the light in, getting the camera set up and stuff like that. And that's where I feel like I shine. Well, not necessarily shine, whatever. But like, it's what I enjoy, and I feel like the passion for this as a videography in a whole, or it's cinematography. I want to lead into the cinematography side of it with the actual.
What's the difference between a videographer and a cinematographer?
Oh, should we be having this debate?
I see. So, just a little side note, but I see that people's like, "Oh, yeah, this is such a videographer thing," and no, I'm a cinematographer. Not a videographer.
I think cinematography is more of very basic. It looks pretty. Does that make sense? Whereas a videographer is, you probably lean more into commercial stuff. For instance, how I would say, like a videographer would be. Generally, you'd be doing talking head stuff. You're more of a cameraman than a cinematographer is someone that shoots, but then leads more into the edit. You know what I mean? Like, she can make it look
I read
pretty,
someone saying something like,
or something
like a cinematographer. I can't remember what it was now, but basically the videographer works with what he's got. You know what I mean? Where the cinematographer creates what he needs, type thing. So that's a good comparison.
Kind of see that,
But it's funny to see that little divide in the industry. Of like, I'm not a videographer, I'm a cinematographer. Anyway,
back to
let's get back to the subject of editing. There's a few options. The main three that I probably think of: Premiere or Premiere. Premiere or Premiere. Premiere in Premiere in Pro. Final Cut, which we both use, and also Davinci, which seems really popular.
Is it Avid?
Avid.
I was just about to say that's
Avid's
more higher end, isn't it?
Avid's a lot of cinema movie editors use Avid.
What's the difference? Do you know
much
about
Avid? I think
Avid's
very old school, and I think there's a lot of OG. In my perspective, I don't know if this is right or not. that it's a lot of OG editors that have been around a long time have used Avid, and they still use it because it still does the job.
Yeah, it's still just the job's going to inevitably change with the flow.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's just a tool, right? Until you get to, well, even films have been edited in Final Cut. Some people see that below Davinci. Some people prefer it. It's. I think it's like, when you a kid and you get into PlayStation or Xbox, you kind of just stay with that because that's what you and your mates use. I got into Final Cut because I was first shown that. I think when I first Googled, video editing software for Mac, Final Cut came up, and I was like, well, it's made by Apple, it's going to be good, I'll use that. And I've stuck with that since. I find a lot of guys that have come through film school, gone uni or whatever, they have Premiere, they have Adobe, right? That's
probably because they get it cheap.
Yeah, they'll have some sort
of... Like a teacher thing, isn't it? It's more on that kind of side, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think they just, anyone I speak to who's been to film school, I use Premiere. And then Davinci.
That's coming through the ranks at the moment, isn't it? Really, I think I've said this before, but I started out on DaVinci because it was one of the free ones. Yeah. And obviously the paid stuff is more for the pro features, which I didn't use at the time. But it was definitely more in a detailed editor, and it's the editing style is it
Nodes? They use Nodes,
No, which you can definitely be more flexible, definitely create and affect different ways better. But I don't understand it.
No, I do see it, and I think it's quite complex. So let's talk about that. Like, the differences are Final Cut, it's one fee, it's about 300 quid. Yeah. Premiere, it's a monthly subscription base. Some people don't like that. I wouldn't like that. That's going to cost you thousands over years.
Over the time, isn't it?
Yeah. And Final Cut's one payment, they're free updates. And then DaVinci's free up to a certain level. I think if you want 10-bit colour, you got to pay. If you want
is it really 10-bit colour, is it?
Yeah, if you want 10-bit colour, you got to pay. And then there's other features if you want.
Quite a lot of good features.
But I don't know what the cost is there.
I'm pretty sure it's about £300-400.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and if you buy a Blackmagic camera, doesn't it come with it?
Something like that. That's a great facial there.
Yeah, Blackmagic camera.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there. So there's those. Like I said, at the end of the day, just tools to do a job, and it's what you find. They're the least painful.
Yeah, it works with your workflow and how you kind of envision how to edit and the techniques that there are. So obviously we discussed like the software you use, but how about we do it from the beginning? You've shot your day. Yeah, you got all your files. What the hell do you do with it? Well, I'm a bit of a backup fiend, aren't I? Really,
3 times,
and the cloud.
Yeah. So three physical places and the cloud.
To be fair, not so much anymore. It's 2 physical places and the cloud. Whereas before it was I have work. Obviously, we all have like work hard drives. So I've got an SSD, which is my main project hard drive. Then I have a backup and then an archive folder. And then I will Google. So a backup hard drive, an archive hard drive, and then backup to the cloud. So I've got different places. Yeah.
All I do is it goes onto my work drive, my SSD, which I edit from. So if you don't know, you should edit from an SSD, not on your actual physical computer's hard drive. And then it goes onto a backup drive, and when I've finished the edit, it gets deleted off the SSD, and I copy the library file over, and then I've just got it in one place. Once it's delivered, sign off. That's me.
I used to just kind of upload it and away you go. What I used to do, is I'd just upload it into a folder, and then with my Final Cut library, I'd upload everything into the library, and then the library file was huge. It was like a couple of 100 gigabytes, and I hadn't really done much of it until I came round to yours one day, and you're like, well, I have a dedicated folder that is obviously got them all in A, B, C camera, whatever you want to do. Then you have the library folder within that the library file within that folder.
Yeah, it stays with the job.
And then it stays with the job. So whenever you move things around, you just move that folder and it goes around. But you don't upload the files to the library folder, do you? You reference the raws, don't you?
Yeah.
So the library folder is small, and it's there because
it's less than a gig.
Exactly. All I was doing was basically duplicating it into a library folder.
So you was having the files and then putting it in the library. So
So it just became, the files were becoming huge, and there's just no need to do that. Now I can just, if I need to, literally just move the whole folder. Everything's put into it.
The biggest thing I learned when I was starting out, I actually had some help from a guy called Dave Woodhead, and he's been in film for years. Days of actual film.
Yeah.
And he was really nice to me. He sort of helped me out in the beginning. He's like, well, you edit a sound, come around mine. Let's have a look at, how you do the edit, like the workflow. And I was, I got there and he's like, yeah, there's definitely some work to be done here. And it was literally just all about organization of folders, where my footage is. And just since then, I've arranged it in that, probably slightly different to how he showed me at the time, but just keeping everything organized so you can access them quickly. You know where they are. Because you get to the point, like I say, when you were having music over there and then you got a load of folder up and it's on a different drive, just having it all in that one place makes it far easier in like a year's time when the client comes up and says, I just need a re-edit of this company promo, we've changed the logo, and you can just drag it up.
I've got a feeling now you've said that's at the time I kind of realised that was your workflow. I'm sure I had someone go, right then, we could do with using some footage from 2 years ago just to add into this to see what it was like before or something like that. I was like, I don't know. Where is that footage kind of thing? Where
I think it was maybe me that I had that workflow and you saw that and it was,
that's what I mean. Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. So like, it just happened to be at that time.
Yeah.
What encouraged me, as well as seeing that your workflow was that way, was the thought, oh God, like I just couldn't find the footage where if it's all in one, I knew where the library folder was, but not where the footage was.
Yeah.
The actual footage. So it was.
And also, to interrupt, having your backup file of the library. I don't know how it works on other editing software. It might be, something difficult altogether, but literally the library file, but every 15 minutes it does a backup copy and you have that on your actual computer because obviously if your hard drive dies but you've got the footage backed up, you can just get that 15-minute old. Did you know that?
Yes, it worked really well because remember when I had all my equipment stolen?
Yeah.
I had a hard drive stolen with my main SSD hard drive stolen with my bag as well, and that had the library files on. But I had I luckily was able to get my laptop back, which
they put it in a bin, didn't they?
Yeah, bloody hell. They had those backup folders within the backup folder on your
movies.
Yeah. However, what I've now done one step further is change that to my iCloud folder. So now it uploads my backup libraries to the iCloud. So even if my laptop went, it's on every compuper.
Yeah, what we were talking about in another episode about learning things from each other.
Yeah.
I need to do that.
That's.
I mean, how big is that folder? It must be quite beefy.
No. Well, I don't think they're that bad because again, the backup library folders files aren't even as big as your original library file. So and
maybe it does. I don't think it includes things like render files and things like
that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they're not that big. I think 20-30 megabytes or something like that per library folder, and it just means it uploads it. So if anything does go, you've got it in the cloud and it's there.
Oh, good idea.
I forgot about that. Yeah, maybe I do come up with some good ideas every now and then. Every now and then.
So now you've got everything organised. First thing to do, start the edit.
So
my process, start the edit. Go toilet, make a coffee, come back,
have a snooze,
tidy your desk. Yeah. Go try that setup thing on a camera that you thought about earlier. Procrastinate. If you haven't seen our procrastination episode, you can catch that up there in the little info card above Mitch. But yeah, once you get to that, first thing I do is just do the culling. I call it trimming the fat. Trimming the fat. So basically, it'll work different in different editors. I think an old school term is called select reels. Where they chop out all the bits that are usable and they create almost a sequence of clips that they can use for the final edit. Final cut's a bit different. We call it favoritizing, but I'll try and stay away from final cut terminology specifically.
Culling, I guess, isn't it?
But so culling. So essentially going through all your footage. Every shot that's in focus, got good composition, not too shaky, and is usable, is up potentially for being in the edit. So going through all that. Editors may use things like bins or other folders to arrange that footage into specific categories. We use keywording in Final Cut. So it may be a case of keywording that's, this is an establishing shot, this is a drone shot, this is, a ceremony shot if it's a wedding or whatever. And then going through that. So then you've literally ready. And then the next bit is finding the music. How do you feel about
that? It's a pain.
Yes.
It's a pain.
It's almost a meme. It's a meme, isn't it, in our industry? Yeah. It's like
2 hours to edit, 7 hours to find the music.
It's the worst part for me.
You just keep going and going.
But it's weird, isn't it? I think it was Casey Neistat. He says, I know within 2 seconds if it's not the one.
Yeah.
But I'll know within 30 seconds if it is. So basically, for me, like, I can hear it go, no. And then sometimes you're like, oh, yeah. And then it kicks in and goes mental. And you're like, no. That's not it.
Too much.
Yeah. Too much. Just chill.
Chill the fuck out.
But yeah, it can be one of them where I either sometimes get in the first 3 clicks.
Yeah.
And then otherwise I'm like, page 6. And I click, no. But it's really important. Like, as you've gone through all the footage and you've got a vibe, you know, the client's brief.
Yeah.
Picking the music sets the tone for everything. I think I saw a funny video. It was the Walking Dead TV show. And it's this horrific scene where they're being chased by zombies. And it's like how music can change everything. And they put some really sort of funny kids music over the top. And it just changed the whole mood. So getting it right is important, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think for me, when I'm looking at music, is the wave form. Is that what it is? It makes a massive difference to me because you can kind of gauge.
That's going to take ages to build.
Yeah. It's going, there's a little bit of an intro there that could work well for this.
Just looking at the way, I thought I was the only. Well, I didn't think I was the only one, but it's funny you said that because I did the same.
It's made all the difference to see. Well, is it one where it'll be good for a little bit and then it'll die off and you don't want it to die off, or like for instance for me a lot of commercial stuff is you kind of generally have a consistent music through it to some extent, don't you? So you just kind of say, right then, well, the waveform isn't too big, so it's not going to be too loud or too much going on, and it seems consistent all the way through, so I can kind of keep the pace decent all the way through.
A lot of places now do stems, won't they, with the music?
Oh yeah.
Do you have stems? Who do you use?
Artlist. I haven't seen stems on that. But on yours?
I use Soundstripe. Yeah. So there's stems. So if you don't know what stems are, essentially when the track's made, they'll split it into anywhere between 4 to 8 tracks as such. So you might have percussion, you might have bass, synth, vocals, and then you can. If the track's sort of a bit too busy, you need a breakdown. You could just drop the drums, and it keeps the rest, and it just brings it. So you can build the track up and down. That's really good.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Stems are massive. I use so you'll get all the elements, you'll compound them, and then line them up, and then when you're in the edit, you can double click and go, let's just bring the drums down here. Yeah. And sometimes the synth's too loud and you just want to drag that bit down but keep everything the same.
Yeah, that's good. I'm kind of disappointed.
Surely Artlist have got that.
I think so, because Artlist is becoming quite a big thing now.
They're not cheap.
I quite like it though, because using Artlist, because I've used Artlist for years, and they're obviously getting bigger and bigger. And then when you see some TV, some adverts on the TV, and I'm like,
and they got one of yours.
I used that in my video 3 years ago. That's shit.
Yes. I don't think I've heard any sounds. Actually, I have on sometimes ads on social media. I'm like, I recognise that track. I used that in an edit in 2021.
I didn't use it that way. God, what have I doing?
The music's 100% the biggest gripe of our. If someone could tap into my head and then go, right, Gav would say yes to this, and I could pay them, I would pay that.
We just need to make our own music.
Yeah, no, I have done that on a job with it's Swarovski, you know, the fake diamond company. We did a job. I was editor on that and shot some BTS at the shoot. Shout out to BT who shot that years ago. That was one of my first ever proper jobs. And we got a guy to make the music. We heard something we really liked. It was really expensive to license it. It was like, so mate, if you could make something that sounds like this but not the same. So that's a nice little advantage. But there are companies now like Soundstripe, you know, if you want something custom, you can contact them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Soundstripe are cheap as well.
How are they?
20 quid-ish. And
a month?
Yeah, a month.
I'll pay more than that.
Yeah, Artlist is quite expensive.
Yeah. Well, it was
a music bed as well is expensive.
Yeah, wasn't Soundstripe quite expensive when it first came out?
No, it's always been pretty.
Epidemic Sound.
Epidemic Sound
epidemic.
Yeah, epidemic. Yeah, Epidemic Sound. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's an expensive one, isn't it?
Not that bad. I first used them when it came out, but I moved to Soundstripe because they were cheaper and I like what they did.
Yeah, it must just.
Anyway, let's not get too off track. God, as if. Question for you, as you like to open with a question.
Certainly
question for you. So my daughter, she always, can I ask you a question? And I'm like, you already did. And she's like, can I ask 2 questions? It's like, yeah.
I've done it. Gavin, when we've maybe had a disagreement, question for you, Gav.
Yeah, that's it. That's you. Question for you. What is the benefit of you chasing me?
My bad.
Anyway.
What do you think the difference is between an amateur and a professional editor?
Oh, a few things. Two things come to mind. One being colour, consistency of colour. Like, things like white balance, correcting that. Obviously, it's not down to them if they didn't shoot it, but if there's an inconsistency in the shots from, one scene to the next, correcting white balance, exposures, one shot's really dark, one shot's really bright, and the colour, essentially. They maybe shot it straight from camera, standard picture profile, oversaturated, too much contrast. So it's probably not. That's maybe more down to if they've shot it, but generally not having any style to that color as well. And I agreed, not every job needs some sort of cinematic color grade, right? But if it's a corporate, then it could be quite neutral anyway. But generally, when there's a mishmash, you can tell after about 20 seconds that if they've not got much experience, they're probably new. And the second biggest one, which is a pet peeve, which we should have put on the other episode about pet peeves. Did we flag that? That's up here if you want to look at that. Where me and Mitch have a bit of a rant about things in our business. But transitions, plugins. Plug-in transitions that are used so much through the edit because they feel that the edit's maybe a bit boring. They want to liven it up. So they're putting zoom transitions, swipe transitions, whip transitions, the whole lot, and it's just a massive. As soon as I see that, I was like, they ain't been doing it long.
There's the time and a place for those, isn't there?
Time and a place, 100%.
Quality of a transition, if you're going to use it, aren't you?
I think some of the plugin ones can look really amateur. But like you say, if it's done at the right time, I might use the odd little swipe transition, like a wipe transition sometimes. But if it's done quick, and
we use a wipe transition at the beginning, don't we? Is it a swipe? A slice?
Oh, it's like it's a slice. So the image from the logo moves across, so it's kind of like a push in.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. It's not like we've thrown loads in every single time it changes.
And if they're doing that like every few cuts, I'm like, no, stop it.
Stop it.
I don't mind an in-camera whip transition. A guy I used to follow called Jesse Driftwood was absolutely killer of it. And also anything where maybe a masking wipe transition where something passes by, say a guy walking the street, he moves in front of the shot and reveals something. Love that. But it takes a lot more skill to think about that for filming it and obviously to execute that.
Well, I think these kind of transitions came from probably 3, 4, 5 years ago now. That became a bit of a thing in body transitions, didn't it? In regards in camera transitions. And obviously, like you say, it's quite hard to do properly, and so that they look good. And part of the flow of the video. And to make it more accessible and convenient for people just made them as an actual transition plug-in, drag and drop. There we go. Transition, and again, I think they can look fine, and they can look and be. Look as they are meant to, but only as they're meant to in the sense of where they should be done and how they should be done properly. If they just, you'll get the amateurs that'll just put something together and go, like you say, need to make this zhuzh it up a little and just
actual word in the Urban Dictionary. Can't remember where it's now.
Well, there we go.
You know what? I only ever hear that at wedding bridal prep.
Oh yeah,
let's zhuzh you up. Zhuzh the hair.
I use it from that, but when they're going to zhuzh the dress.
Zhuzh it, the dress, the hair, give it more body. But I think I can't remember where I was going to go from that. For me, the only transitions I ever use are a straight cut and a dip to black. Just a dip to black. Just nice.
Not a cross dissolve, mate.
No, I'm not a fan of it. A cross dissolve looks like some sort of 90s boy band music video or a really old school wedding video.
Because I think you use a dip to black, but I use a cross dissolve, but it has the same outcome. So
only at the end.
Whenever you
I use a cross dissolve on the end of a video because it's a cleaner fade to black.
Right. Okay.
If you use a fade to black to adjust it to make it like more smooth in Final Cut, at least there's a bit more playing with it, but a standard cross dissolve on the end to fade the end of the video is cleaner. But in between two shots, not a cross dissolve.
I use imagine
no. Is that it?
I use again some cross dissolves on some title stuff. potentially, and if I'm like
to bring a title in,
to blend a title in, or
yes,
something like that.
That's acceptable.
No, but that, you know, I mean,
I use it for that. Yeah,
it's just if someone comes up
because if you use a dip to black, it just dips the black everything.
Oh really? I didn't even know.
So if you've got the title above it, you use a cross dissolve, it fades it in. Yeah, I use it there.
Yeah. But obviously, we wouldn't necessarily use a zoom tracking on a title. I might try that. See what it looks like. Yeah, might be a thing.
So that's definitely like the things that, you know, separate a newbie from an experience. And like I say, when you've been doing it a while, you can tell within 20 seconds if this person's new to it or not.
Throwing them in there. Oh, again, like I was...
we've all done it.
Yeah, I did that when I kind of first started out, and then you were like, Mitchell, stop it.
Calm down, yeah.
Stop it, Mitchell. I was like, stop it. What are you about?
But it looks great. Yeah, no.
No, I think, you know, again, there's the time and the place, isn't there? But...
never.
Those never. You know. What I found they're always on is like those travel videos.
Oh, okay.
That went through a time where every travel video had like all the zoom and the swipe transitions and all that kind of stuff.
Like, chill out, mate.
Yeah. One of my main things.
Hates.
Yeah, go on then. So we say hates.
Yeah.
Is blown out highlights. Now, inevitably, it can happen. It's one of those. If you're in a really contrast, like you're shooting indoors and there's a window, happen to be a window, inevitably that's going to be blown out, and it's one of those. However, if there's blown out highlights
and they're outside,
and it doesn't have to be. There doesn't be. Yeah, obviously, sometimes inevitably it's going to change with when your camera progresses because they have better dynamic range and all that stuff. But as an editor, if you're not colour correcting properly, like an amateur way of doing it is literally right then I'll just boost overall exposure, you know, get the master slider and bang it up, and inevitably you are gonna boost the midtones or boost the area that you think that's a bit dark. But if you just do that, you will just get blown out highlights. You need to kind of, like, the best thing for me to boost something is just to mess with the midtones more. I'm
a mid-tone guy.
Yeah,
I just boost that.
It's surprising how just putting the midtones up will boost,
but not affect the
highlights, exposure, but not affect the highlights.
Yeah,
and you get people will just boost it up, and they won't then, in essence, pull the highlights down or something like that. And it's just as soon as you blow out highlights, like was either shot bad or coloured bad.
Yeah, and
that's corrected. Just super amateur, I think. What also makes a professional editor, like a better editor, is sound design. I think it's a big thing in it that you don't take into consideration when you're an amateur or you're kind of new to it.
No, I never. I think the first time I ever used sound design, I just added some tweeting birds on an outside scene. I was like,
oh my God.
And the big mistake a lot of people use is like being too loud with it. I think good sound design shouldn't be heard.
Yeah.
And that sounds really weird.
You should think it's part of, just part of, say, for instance, it's as it's being filmed or something, as if that's what is being filmed.
Unless it's a whoosh.
Yeah, probably.
Then that would be a bit weird. But yeah, no, I think it's one of them where you shouldn't be noticed. The same as a good edit shouldn't feel over-edited. It should feel like it's taken you no time at all. This is back to the edit. It should feel like it's taken no time at all. It's effortless to watch. And it's just, you know, it's not jarring in any way. The same as sound design. It should be something that you hear it, but it's not like, you know, it's too loud or jarring.
Well, yeah, I watched, I came across a videographer. I thought, not bad, you know, it looks all right. Watched the video through. And it was a bit of a dynamic video, sure, whatever. And then, whatever. And then he, the shot was of someone pouring a drink, and it was so loud. I was like, it almost made me jump. You want it to be like as if it was the camera was filming that pouring. Yeah. But it wasn't. It was just like...
It was inside the glass.
Like this. I was like... Oh, all right, like, and to me, that looked super amateur. That the volume was not done properly.
Yeah, if you look at any of these crazy timelines you see on some people when they've gone like really heavy on the sound design, you've got the video timeline, the music, the dialogue, sound design's like 10 layers deep, overlapping.
Thinking, what the bloody? And when I look at that, I was thinking, but what would that be? What part of that would that be? But that's a good thing because that it just adds that depth in there.
And then you take it out and you're like, oh, it feels really flat.
Yeah, there's nothing there. There's no...
Yeah, massive.
Yeah.
Sound design. Get on it.
Get on it.
Okay, so I guess that kind of wraps it up on not all things editing, right? You know, we could go into the technicalities of, you know, export settings and things like that, but we, you know, we didn't want to get too technical. We kind of just wanted to have a little bit of chat about how we approach things, how, you know, things to consider. So hopefully you found that valuable. If there's anything you think we missed, or you have any ideas that we've maybe not even thought of, then we'd love to hear from you in the comments, and we'll catch you next week.